Welcome to Beta by the Numbers. I'm FM Tahiti. In this episode, we're going to be looking at our kind of team views or squad views, and look at some of the kind of statistics we want to try and pull out for later on. Some of these will be pretty obvious, some of them won't be. There's lots of kind of squad views that you can get out there already. I think Friday Night FM's got quite a lot of good ones. Renty's got quite a lot of good ones as well. There's plenty in the kind of workshops you can download. I might add mine there eventually. I might not, but mine's it's not one that's meant to be used just by sort of glancing at it. It's a bit numbers heavy. It's one that I plan to use by extracting it, putting it into a spreadsheet elsewhere, so a little bit nerdier than normal. Before I show you that, and we will have a game this episode as well, we'll play the Malachines. You can see here, we're top of the table, so only 3 competitive games played. We've got a 2-0 win against a 3-0 win against Tobermoor, and that draw against Banbridge. Goal difference wise, if I hover over it, it doesn't show me. Let's look at the actual. Where's it gone? The actual competition here. Far too many clicks to actually get to this, isn't it? 6-4, 1 against. So we've actually kept a couple of clean sheets, which isn't too bad. And scoring 5 goals is, 6 goals I should say, because it's 5 overall, isn't it? Is pretty good. Still finding that my players are missing a lot of one-on-ones, but even though I know people complaining about it on the forums and raising it as a bug, they might well be. I don't know how much of it for my team is just because my players aren't that good. It's very difficult to kind of tell whether it's not, the finishing not at the level it needs to be when most of them can't finish anyway. So we've got that to kind of look forward to. We've also got, if we go all the way back, managed performance. So currently we've got C+. I think we were B+ beforehand. I don't know if you've seen this before, but it's much clearer what you're being judged on. So only C for making a progress towards club vision, C+ for the results, which I think is a little bit harsh, considering we're a newly promoted team, but whatever. There's only 3 to kind of judge us on. C for transfers, because I guess no one's set the world on fire, but the fans are a bit happy with a B-. B overall for the tactics, so the pleasing number of goals scored. They're concerned about the dubious quality of the passing. That's just because they can't pass, but never mind. B- because of the kind of atmosphere. And you can kind of break it down. Club vision, you can see how you're doing. So we've passed the Bet McLean Cup bit, because that's only preferred. Not being judged on these 2. Currently not judging this one, which is a bit weird. We're on course for the finances. They're content with that. That's about it for this page. See the match performance, C-, B+, B-. So generally our results, I think our rating, if we carry on, will go up with this. The fans and the board have very different reactions. So the board are unhappy with signing Ryan Lamb because he's getting too much in the way of wages for his position, but the fans are giving him an A+. I think this isn't a bug, this is just a realistic conflict between the 2. Hines again, the board think he's a D. The fans think he's been better than expected, but still crap. There we go. So it's useful to actually be able to break it down by all these different things now. Quality of pressing apparently is quite good. Passing isn't. Goals are good. So it's good to get this kind of rating. It really makes it a lot easier to see where you're being judged, where you can improve if you want to kind of up things later on. So if we look at the squad view, which it seems to have got rid of. Interesting. There we go. So I did raise a potential bug. I'll show you in a second. But as you can see, this kind of goes on all the way over there. So this isn't for a quick glance at stuff. We've got the standard information position selected position value. So most valuable player that we actually own is Stephen Duff with £750 worth. Got the height because I want to try and put together quite a tall team because it's long ball. It makes it much easier to defend, much easier to win those kind of aerial battles. It's not a thing I'm going to be looking at first and foremost, but something I'll use to determine which players if there's a bit of a tie break. Age, so I can work out who's getting old and who's not. And then I've got agreed playing time, their actual playing time, to see if there's any issues with the any kind of disparities between what I've promised and what they're actually doing. So you can see, for example, down here, Darren Stewart, star player, playing time. Currently, he's only getting a regular starter. Well, actually, he's not started anything. It makes it easier to see where there's these kind of issues. So, for example, Ben Mitchell, replaying times impact sub, is probably playing more like a future prospect, but it's good in case there's any kind of promises you've made that you don't want to break. Then in this next bit, I've got the amount of appearances they've made, which is really useful because when you extract the data, there are lots of kind of stats you can pull out, which I'll show you. And some of them, like aerial challenges attempts per 90 minutes, are already done per 90 minutes. But some of them don't have a per 90 minutes version for some reason. So things like key tackles per 90 minutes, that kind of thing. And what you can do is if you put appearances in, you can at least work it out per appearance. Or you can kind of estimate, per minute. Or you can actually put the minute one in if you really wanted to. I'm just going for appearances currently. So I've got appearances to help me with that. I've also got games missed in a row, so I can see if someone's been out for a while. So if I've made a promise to a player, I can see whether they've actually been missing out on game time when I should be trying to get them in as soon as possible. And I can see if this is like a blank like this, and I know they played the last game. Got the form for the last 5 games, and their rating, their general training rating, their overall average rating, to see who's on a hot streak and who's not. Then I've got my mental attributes not just mental attributes, but core attributes. This is the DNA of the team. So I wrote an article to Dictate the Game a while ago, looking at how to work out what the actual DNA of your team is, so you can then recruit for it and improve it. And this was all based on working out what predicts a good performance for your tactic. So what predicts your kind of key performance indicators. So for a long ball Route 1 style game, you're looking for lots of tackles, lots of important long key passes if you can get them in there, and a certain number of sort of headed goals and headers won and things like that. They're all your kind of proxies for working out whether a performance is probably good or in line with what you want. And then using statistical analysis, I mentioned this in one of the videos that you can go and have a look at as well. You can go look at the article on dictatethegame.com. You can work out which of your attributes in your players better predict those performances. So which attributes better predict the number of key passes made. In turn, those key passes might predict good performance if you've got a tiki-taka style tactic. So these are the ones that tend to work for me for a 4-4-2 long ball, or did for FM19. I've not played enough games yet to know whether these are still the ones for this, but aggression, bravery, positioning, jumping reach, and strength tend to be pretty important. And I quite like determination and work rate if I can get them. So these are the ones I want to see. So ideally, these values will get higher and higher as we improve the team. We'll see where there's kind of weak links are, if there are any. And then as we scroll across, first thing you might notice is these separators seem to have moved with us. This is a kind of bug, so I've mentioned it on the forums, but apparently eventually they'll reset back to where they should be. But they've not for the moment, so just ignore them. Next, we've got things like aerial challenges, headers, header percentage in terms of headers won, interceptions per 90, key headers, key tackles, tackle ratio, tackles per game. So this section here, if these separators working properly, the kind of defensive key performance indicators. Then we've got key passes per 90, pass attempts per 90, pass completed, as well as pass percentage, and crosses completed versus crosses attempted. So these are the kind of passing technical measures for the midfield, just generally, but also just in terms of the passing game. And then we've got chances created, assists per 90, chances per 90, shots on target per 90, general shots on target ratio, shots per 90. We've also got, down here we've also got goals as well, if we need to go back and look at that. But this gives me the kind of attacking sort of markers to determine how well my team are doing. And with all of this, if you go to, can't remember how you do it on this one, print screen, and print it as a web page, you can save it as a web page and then open that up in Excel or in Calc if you're using OpenOffice or something like that. And then you'll have all of these values for all of the players, and you can start playing around with them. Now you can do the same for some of these stats to do with the match stats we looked at in the match view, or also things like in the development center eventually when you're looking at some of the reports that you get out when you've got some reports. You can pull out that information and use it in your analysis later on if you want to. So it's a good trick for those of you who are a bit nerdier, and if you're watching this, you might be a little bit nerdier than average. But there we go. This is the match view. If you want me to share it, let me know in the comments. I'll just put it up on Steam Workshop for you, but there are plenty of other ones out there that do the same, or you can make your own. For example, you might want different attributes up here to look at, or you might not want something as big and messy as this. You might just want to break it down to a few key attributes as well. The other thing I didn't mention here is I've also got points won per game and the game win percentage when they're playing, just as a kind of check. I did this with the Tahiti game for FM19, but just to check to see which players are more integral to an important performance. So if they've been involved in more wins than other players, their points per game and their game win percentage will be higher. If a player's been involved in more losses than, say, wins or draws, then they can have much lower points per game, for example. This does get skewed, so if you put a player on for the last 5 minutes of a match you're winning, so super subs or people you're giving sub appearances will get a bump to their actual points per game, but you just have to keep an eye on that. But it's useful to see if there are any kind of underperformers generally that might be struggling, that might weaken the overall team. That's enough of that. Let's move on to the match. So we're playing in the Irish Steel and Sons Cup. There's not many teams left that I think are actually much of a challenge. There are some that'd be interesting to play. So we've lost against Distillery and the Bet McLean, so we might want to avoid them for a bit. But East Belfast, another Belfast team, and Shankill are also a Belfast-based team, I think. So be a good derby, potentially. Oh, no facilities for them. Interesting. That could well be a bug. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're Belfast-based. So there are some interesting matches we could end up playing at some point. I'm worried if this will clash. We're going to keep the team pretty much the same. Even though it is a cup match, we could rotate a few people in to keep them happy. I actually just want to perform well at the moment. I also don't want to weaken the squad and add this kind of variance in, because hopefully in the next episode we'll have played a few more matches, or we might just have an episode that's nothing but XG analysis or something like that, something a bit nerdier. So I kind of want to make sure the team's the strongest it could be, so we get an accurate representation of what we're doing when we've got our strongest team available out. There we go. Kits aren't actually clashing that badly. Solid tackle there. Moland going long. Still think I need to tweak some of the set pieces as well, but we'll give them a bit of a chance to bed in. One of the things I'm kind of worried about with the tactic is a lot of people on the forums have mentioned that the kind of switch balls and long balls seem to be not so much overpowered, but much more common than you'd expect, especially for some of the tactics other people are playing, which are not long ball. I'm just hoping that when it does get tweaked, it doesn't tweak it for my team. Go on, Duff. Managed to get a deflection there, mainly just because we're actually playing for them. I think the amount that we're getting is just about right for this tactic as it beds in. I don't think it's an error for our team anyway. It might be for other people's. If you hear any kind of explosions in the background, it's because it's almost bonfire night whilst I record this. It's the 3rd, I think. McCall, gone Warwick. Long again. Lamb's getting across the Hines. So they can pass it around when they want to. Hughes almost. Hughes is on 5 goals so far this season, which isn't bad. In cups and the league. Duff, that's a weird 1-2, to be honest. If it works, fine, but I'm not convinced. Hines slams it against him. Mulland. There we go, corner for us. We do get a lot of kind of second balls, which is good. I've been reading The Mixer by Michael Cox, which is a really good kind of... Go on, Hughes. It's a really good tactical history of the Premiership, the first 10 years of the Premiership. And one of the chapters is all about, there we go, Hughes with the header at the back post. That's how we set up the corner. Worked perfectly. That way we set it up is for them to either head it directly in like this, or to head it back across the face of goal for someone else to sort of run in and attack. We should beat the Malachians. They are kind of amateur, the division below us in comparison. Long Ian. Yeah, so the In the Mixer book's really good because there's this chapter all about Sam Allardyce. Basically, Lamb, good ball. There's a bit about how Sam Allardyce is kind of, I don't want to say disrespected, but quite often we don't appreciate that he did revolutionise a lot of Premiership in terms of preparation. Go on, Hughes, Watts, tuck it down perfectly, and then it was high and wide from just in front of the goal. Yeah, so Sam Allardyce took sort of Duff, good ball through. Rounded him-ish. That's the goal. Not bad for a one-on-one there. Target man setting that one up. Really good ball, well weighted. Yeah, where was I? So Sam Allardyce took techniques from the NFL when he was playing in the US, looked at fitness, increasing our backroom staff, data analysis, started using Prozone before it was popular, and changed things like diet and training, ended up with more backroom staff than players, created a kind of war room for analysis with lots of TV screens and replays and data in and things like that. And although his tactics are very kind of route one and lacked a certain amount of subtlety, that tackle was lacked a bit of subtlety, he did revolutionise a lot of the prep. Go on, Duff. Didn't think Duff was going to get it from there, to be honest. So yeah, Sam Allardyce gets a bad rap. It's a weird pass. So yeah, he gets a bit of a bad rap. I mean, there obviously was a bit of a Route 1 merchant. But one of the things they also point out is that actually he was a bit of a mix. He had the kind of pragmatic Route 1 element, getting shots and passes into the positions of maximum opportunity, the proper kind of Charles Reap stuff. If you know your kind of football stats history. But he also had players like JJ Okocha. He wasn't afraid to have kind of skill, flair players if you needed to offer something different. And that's hopefully where we'll kind of end up. Oh, that was a good long distance shot. That was pretty special. I've not seen too many long shots in the competitive games. I think this is the first long shot in a while that I've seen that's gone in. Yeah, that's good. We're within touching distance again. We'll see. 19 shots there too. I think we might be alright. I'm not making any subs just yet. I know we're happy. One of the things that Sam Allardyce also was quite good at doing that gets picked out of by the Mixer book by Michael Cox is that he retrained a lot of players. Because he had the statistical data, he knew what kind of performances players were putting in. He knew what they could do in different areas of the pitch, so he knew there were some defenders he could turn into defensive midfielders or holding midfielders. He knew that there were some players who could change into strikers or right wingers and things like that based on what they were doing well. It's almost like that kind of Moneyball approach of you find the statistics, the performance indicators that are undervalued that lead to your success, and then recruit for them, or in this case, train for them. So we might try and do something similar at some point with a bit of retraining. Probably not until we get, a full-time professional squad. Training is quite difficult when you're semi-professional or amateur in this, especially when it comes to trying to retrain positions. Try and get it out. Lions picks it up well. Good long ball. Oh, see, there was a better opportunity there. There was a player running onto that. Might need to make a sub soon. I don't know why the fans and the board don't like Hines. He's getting involved in everything. Go on, Duff, switch it over. Go on, Lynch. Took 2 attempts. That's it. Lynch has sealed his fate. He's coming off of Mark Mitchell. Spring on Noel McManus for Lamb. Arbuthnot for Hughes. Because Hughes has been doing well, I also want to rest him for an actual competitive match in the league. I've still not managed to find a left back as cover for Mullahand. Go on, Duff. Oh, there we go. That was a nice goal. His first goal of the season, well, outside of the friendlies. Yeah, Mullahan's good, but I have absolutely nobody worthwhile coming in. That's a good pass. I think there's maybe 3 left backs that are available on a free, and none of them look either good enough, well, except the wages I will offer for a kind of backup player. So we might just have to hold on, and if things go horribly wrong, I might just have to call up a grey player or something like that from the reserves, because I don't want to spend money on someone who's just not even warming the bench probably most of the time, just waiting for him to get injured. Maybe he'll stay fit all season. Go on, work. He didn't expect that, did he? Bounced off him. Mulland. Again, they can pass it around. They work it reasonably well. Oh, Warwick did him. Just to go back in the middle. This isn't the most productive play. Yeah. Yeah, we deserve to lose the ball then, because we were just prattling about. Bit of a weird shot. It's fine. 33 shots to their 4. It's not bad. Working out about 1 goal per 10 shots or 11 shots, which is kind of what I was working out at in FM19 as well when I was doing my X-goal stuff. Not that shots per goal is X-goal, but it's one of the kind of crude measures you can use as a broad sort of watermark. So we're hitting the same kind of conversion rate. It does make me wonder about those one-on-ones, whether that's an issue. It could be the same conversion rate just because certain chances are harder than others now and they've swapped. That was a bit of a dribbly shot. I think that's the end of the game. There we go. 34 shots there for. That will be interesting when we eventually come around to working out the XG for that one. But one of the things I might do, I might actually look at some of this already here. So we look at shots. Let's look at the ones that are. So they're all fairly central, those ones. They're pretty central too. So shots 3, 10, a bit wider. So we're getting more and more central, we're getting more and more wide shots in the earlier games and more central now. One of the things I'm thinking about doing based on this, kind of based on some of the passes as well, is sort of, what's going on here? Is maybe attacking with less width, because normally attacking with width is quite useful, but it does mean some of our shots coming from a little bit wider. Reasonably long assist. Key ones. Long key passes there. There's some squaring in the box from the pressing forward, Stephen Duff. Stuff to consider for the tactics. So there we go, we're going to play at Moyola Park in the 4th round, who are in the same division as us, just not doing as well as us. That's interesting. So we'll probably come back in. Might do a kind of double header, Moyola and Bangor. Might avoid any kind of stats in that one, but by that point we should have enough of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Once we've played that Bangor match, we'll have 10 games worth of data, and then I might do an episode where we just use the data before we go into these next ones. So thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.